Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hard Knock Dice, specifically the Ghost of Saltmarsh for the last time.
Now, we are the...
Click the charity link.
Charity.
Charity. But I'm Ian, the Dungeon Master, very technically speaking, here tonight. And these four gentlemen around me are our players. Are, kind of. Still are. Y'all didn't just stop being the players for this campaign.
Laugh in order to not cry.
But it's going to be a different session tonight, as it is the finales. We're doing a bit of epilogue to the Ghost of Saltmarsh. But before we get into all that, as per usual, we are raising money for the International Medical Corps, who are doing things for both the mental and physical health fronts over in Ukraine to help people out. So I encourage you to click on that link, donate what you can. I don't know if does anybody else have anything they would like to announce? Yes, no, maybe so.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Just tears.
Happy Halloween.
How we get to all be spooky ghosts.
But like I said, this is our last session is a bit of an epilogue, and since I'm God, I will do things in the order that I so desire, and I think it's appropriate to start the end at the beginning of this campaign, and not just in the first session. I wanted to take a minute to talk about kind of how this campaign came about, and how it actually started to get played, because it actually had very little planning involved. But it was back in January of 2020. We had a few of us here at my house. My brother, aka Cody, aka Julian. We were throwing a party here at the house. Alex, or Jonesy, or Gloob, or God, and Eberron was in attendance. And because we are like the nerdiest group of fuckers ever, we were talking about D&D. Specifically, we had still only been running the Across Eberron campaign at that time. That had only been going for a few months. And so we were talking about, if we wanted to do anything else on Hard Knock Dice, and did anybody else want to run a campaign, and we had always kind of had people hemming and hawing about it. And I had been thinking about, I'd always kind of wanted to DM, because I thought it sounded like it'd be very enjoyable, but it has always been very intimidating. But I had a bit of false, or what's the word I'm looking for? It was temporary manufactured courage by that juncture, And so I said, I'll run a module. I won't run like a whole regular campaign. I'll run a module. And so we sat down there a little out of wits and browsed through D&D Beyond and looked at the modules and what it would be. And I was looking at like what were the shorter ones. And Ghost of Saltmarsh was one of the shorter ones, shortish. It started early level and went to mid levels, which I thought would work perfectly. Plus, we always talked about wanting to be pirates, and there was supposed to be pirate stuff in it, so that sounded like it would hit the money right on the head. So I went ahead and bought the module right that night, and started thinking about it like the next couple days. Decided I only wanted to DM for a small group of people to keep it easier on myself for my first game. And I was like, I'm just gonna run it as written. Just as little stress as possible. We saw how that worked out. It didn't, but so I decided to figure out who I was gonna get to play. And my best friend Christopher, aka Jakob, he'd been talking about wanting to play D&D and wanted to get into a game or anything, and he hadn't found one yet. And so I reached out and asked if he would be interested in playing. He said he was, but just that he would need some help, making his character. This is his first character, and learning the rules and everything. Of course, and reached out to these other three guys. Kent, of course, being one of the first on my list because he has been our resident forever DM for many years. So getting the opportunity to be a player in a couple of these campaigns was, I know he's been happy to do it until inevitably he has to run a game again. He's getting what time he can, and got my brother and Alex, both also several of very experienced and very close friends to be my other players, which was really, really comforting and encouraging for me, because I knew that they know what they're doing, so they would take a lot of stress off of me for having to worry about player stuff, and also that since they all DM quite a bit, that they would help me on that end if I ever needed it, and if I were to stumble, they would kind of help keep me on track, and that 100% was very, very relevant, very true throughout this whole experience. So I just wanted to lay all that out there because I am very, very grateful for you guys playing with me in this first game. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, broski.
Thank
You're
you
super
for running
welcome,
it for
dude.
us, man.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
last time on the Gotham, our party were in a bad situation. Gloob is dead. Julian was recently resurrected. Bart and Jakob were low on resources for the most part, and they had a civilian that they were trying to get out with them. The guards there at the doctor's lair had started to find them out, and so became what started a mad brawl and dash to safety, going to and fro, trying to find a safe path, as well as using what few resources they had. Jakob ultimately injecting the hyper omega alchemical steroids that the doctor had created for use on his experiments, and Julian even dominating one of the higher level pirates that was still around to buy them a bit of time. But ultimately, as they made their way to the basically antechamber, the hub of this whole place, only having to get one more room or so, injuries added up and individuals started to fall. Ultimately, every member of our party perishing there within the lair of the doctor, though not before felling him themselves. And so that brings us to where we are tonight. I thought figured it would only be appropriate. We are going to have some last moments here of RP for each of our characters, each of our beloved members of the tribe. And so we shall begin. I think it only appropriate to begin in order. So, crossbow bolts, dug into your chest, Gloob. Darkness closes in on your vision. It's black, almost like falling asleep for a few moments, where your eyes open. And for a few moments, you can't even really focus on any of the details. There are lurid pinks and yellows and blues and greens, just an assault of colors and bright light before you're able to get your bearings, laying flat as these colors begin to resolve into shapes, as there's a myriad of flowers and other plants, tall trees of unnatural color, some bark that's purplish, pink almost, surrounding you. Further, gather yourself, you sit up, you're just in the midst of this forest. Unlike anything you've ever seen before, with beautiful and probably a bit terrifying in it, and how alien it is none of the plants, they look kind of like the plants and other flora that you're used to, but just not quite. And your eye line creeps over to a familiar ring of mushrooms. And sat atop one, not quite facing you, is a very small, slight tiny individual. Bright red, long bright red hair that slowly fades into a burnt orange as it gets closer to the ends, spattered with white dots all over, wearing this long gown, long drooping sleeves in pastels, and that kind of flowing wave going down about her torso and legs, but with an open back and small, dainty, look kind of like dragonfly wings. As you have sat yourself up and made a bit of noise, she does turn towards you. Very, very fragile features, not unlike Malia, your friend from quite a long time ago at this point, in Gloob's perspective. As she turns to you, you hear a familiar voice. Hello, Gloob. And you recognize the voice that you heard in your dreams when a light appeared and intervened on your behalf with Granny Nightshade, that hummed and sang a familiar tune when you were drunk and sad and upset with some of your friends on the boat and hugging your painting. She smiles a little bit, steps off of the mushroom that she sat on, and as she steps off, grows to about your size. I am so sorry that I had to meet you this way.
Where am I?
Do you remember what happened to you?
Yeah.
You've perished. Passed on. I intercepted your soul before it could quite make it. I felt I owed you that much.
Hey, can you send it back? Because my friends need me.
I cannot. I am Fiakan. I am an archfey in the Feywild, which is where you are now. Unfortunately, I'm not a particularly powerful archfey, as all things stand. I could intercept, but the odds of success in sending you back would be slim. Made worse by the fact that there are those who would seek to intercept you. Granny Nightshade holds grudges. I can't do much for you, but I figured I could at least offer you something. I don't have much need for what it takes to keep you here. I'm not a particularly ambitious individual. I could allow you to stay here as long as you wished. Have not quite a second chance, but some kind of a fresh start. An opportunity to explore. See all of the things that you hadn't had the opportunity to see. With the freedom to go where you wish and how you wished. Sorry. There are beautiful seas within the Feywild.
But my friends.
She waits for a moment and eyes kind of start to grow distant. I am sorry, Gloob, but it doesn't look as if their fate will be much different.
I missed.
What was that?
I messed up.
I'm sorry. I know it heals no wounds, but if you choose to reside in the wild for any time, I know of at least one who would like to accompany you. Kind of glances off to one side. A small, dark-furred figure wrapped in bandanas and sashes and whatever you guys were able to gather on the frigid cairn. Kamel kind of comes stepping out.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, Glue. Understand him perfectly.
That doesn't mean. Never mind, I don't want to know.
I am so sorry.
so much left to do.
She covers the last few feet of distance between the two of you. Just reach out both very slender, elegant hands and just kind of cups your face. There will always be so much to do. But you did so much. Far more than most ever will. And I'm sure your friends would say the same.
Can you do anything else? I have something. Look around. I probably don't have the bag of holding on me, but I look around for it. I have a book. Can you send that somewhere?
I can certainly try. And if not that exact one, I know of the stories you speak.
No. Not that one. I was writing one. It's not finished. We weren't finished. It has a lot of what we did. Send it to Julian's son. Send it to
Taro.
him if you can.
It's kind of slight tilt of her head to one side for a few moments. There are those within our realm and who serve me who can get into most places unseen and unnoticed.
Just look at Glamel. Yeah.
Perhaps someone of a less well-meaning disposition. But I will do what I can, I promise.
He deserves to know his father was a hero. What a... They gonna be... Is Jakob gonna get to see his daughter?
I could not tell you for sure. But for some of your friends, there are powers greater than myself who seemed to have interest in them, in their well-being.
What next?
That is your choice. As I said, I can keep you here. Your tale does not have to be finished. Not yet. Here within the confines, as they are of the Feywild. Or you can choose to pass on, if that is your wish.
Can I still do good here?
I think so. Maybe a different kind of good from what you are used to, as she looks around. This is a place very different from the one you came from.
Shit.
But there are still many people to meet. Those whose goals are nefarious, and those that are pure, and those that are just inconceivable. And every now and then, some from your world, the material plane, find their way here. They could always use a friendly face.
We'll kind of look over to the fairy ring. She's not here, is she?
No. I was not watching close enough when she passed.
Sorry.
All we can do is try again.
If I can help, that's what I'll do.
Farewell. And only as long as you desire. I will not hold you here against your will. Very well. She just glances around one more time and holds out a hand to you. Then I best must get you a vessel worthy of your deeds and value.
I don't know what that means. Also, you probably don't want to touch my hand.
She touched your face earlier. Did not seem to faze her at all. I think it'll be quite alright.
I'll grab Lamel's hand. Grab hers.
As you do. Flower petals and leaves and detritus of the forest floor swirl up around you, the three of you in a cloud, and you vanish. Off to begin some new work. For as long as it fulfills you. Jakob, you remember the desperation of the escape, telling Bart to get everybody out if you could, get them out at least. All the crabs and the few remaining pirates within the compound failed you. Your vision fades to black, almost like falling asleep. Her eyes open. Startlingly bright light that slowly fades. You have the faint greens and browns and blue and white, but slowly regaining your ability to perceive, and you stand at a crossroads. Two paths split before you. On your right, broad dirt path packed flat by traveling feet. There may even be faint furrows of cartwheels in it, heavily traveled. On your left, much smaller, footpath almost, through grass and underbrush that may even be difficult to follow if one was not paying close attention. You see these two paths split before you. A beautiful spring day, perhaps. You kind of glance side to side, not wearing any of your familiar, at this point, armor, no weapons, simple woolen garb. Become aware of a presence standing next to you. It is a choice, boy. Standing next to you is a tall, broad-shouldered man. Older, weathered face. Plenty of crow's feet and lines, both like frown and a little bit of smile lines mixed in there. Long, dark hair. Plenty of gray all throughout it, but pulled back tight, very well managed. And an immaculate beard of the similar color as his face, fixed in rings and braided, coming down about 6 inches from his chin. Dressed simply but finely. He repeats himself. It is a choice, boy. Glances to one side. Wide road, well traveled. To a final rest. Peace. Perhaps some reunion with those lost. Glances to the left-hand path. Or the one less traveled, less sought, of continued service maybe, continued seeking of justice, as you have in life. A difficult choice, but a choice all the same.
Jacob will take his hand to the final wound that felled them. Imagine not seeing anything there now. still those that needed me.
There always is. Do not think that you have failed. There is no failure in falling in the line of duty, doing what is right. It may not necessarily be success either, but it is doing what is right to the utmost, to the end. That is an opportunity very few seek, or have the opportunity to seek.
The opportunity I could have seek. Did they make it out?
Just kind of looks at you and dark eyes, just for the most part very even. I believe you understand that it was not to be. Yours was a righteous cause.
His is a righteous.
There tend to be those who will pick them back up when they fall. Find a new set of hands in which to be wielded.
Almost as if going for that wound again, but instead kind of grasp at his throat where his symbol of Cronius and his daughter's necklace had always been. Step off to the right path.
As you do, hear a familiar giggle. You turn back behind you. The man is gone. But a small hand grabs your fingers. As you turn, see Sin as she was in life, running up to you giggling. Daddy! Daddy! Look what I found! Come here! Pulls you kind of off to the side a little bit, showing you a weird shaped rock that she found off the path. Drags you over, then is kind of bouncing from foot to foot, laughing to herself. Doesn't it look like a what are they? The pointy squirrels. No, it's too small. I know the pointy animals. It does not look like a porcupine. What?
You know, I think you're right. Barely able to hold back tears, much like Aspire. Yeah. Second. Sorry.
You're good, man. I had the opportunity to rehearse, y'all didn't.
Woo. Second.
Take your time, buddy. I'd give you a hug if I was there.
Jacob will reach up to his daughter's face, first time, and just hold it. And give her a hug. This is a wonderful little porcupine you found, sweetie.
Little arms wrapped not quite all the way around your waist. She can't reach. Yeah. Yeah. She eventually uncurls from the hug and grabs your hand again. Just kind of pulls at you. I want to look over there. Starts to kind of yank you down the path. You begin to walk with no particular rush, meandering, stopping to look at the frogs and squirrels and whatever catches her attention. Taking all the time in the world. Whew!
You're doing great.
Oh boy.
You got this.
I don't know if I do. Woo!
Well, I mean, if you need to take a break, I don't think there's like a. I mean, we can take a break.
Nah, I got this. We're good. Okay. Bart. You remember the clutches of one of the crabs. Pirates surrounding you. As those last crossbow bolts and the sawing motions of the claws. The darkness fades and takes your vision, almost like falling asleep. Next moment, your eyes open, not assaulted by bright lights. By a soft, warm, flickering glow of a fire in a fireplace. Big metal pot set boiling. You can smell a nice stew on the fire. Focus in a little more. You're sat at a shorter wooden table, halfling in stature. Sat not across from you, but kind of catty corner. It's an elderly halfling woman, wrinkles aplenty, just smile lines, most of them. Hair in a neat bun, very plain, slightly stained, like from with cooking stains and things. Uh, Apron, just sat next to you, smiling a little to herself. Well, hello, Bartholomew.
Hey there. When did I get here?
It hasn't been too long. Quite recently, actually.
Did we get picked up? Is everybody all right?
I'm afraid not, my son.
And kind of the tone in which she uses my son kind of makes him like, oh. I mean, but I was just getting started. I was trying to do better.
You did.
But there was a lot more I could have done.
Perhaps. Perhaps not.
Did
Does it bring
anybody?
you peace to contemplate what could be?
No, I reckon not. Did any of them make it?
Just kind of slowly shakes her head.
All right. Well, how does this work? Can we invite them over?
I think that might be possible. Yeah. Or you may invite them over if you desire. This, of course, is kind of in between. But I think if you wish to find each other, you will. On the other side.
So I'm in between now, but not on the other side yet.
Not quite. Kind of a stopping point. It's the
All
only
right.
way to get you one-on-one. Easily, anyway.
All right. Um, I appreciate the attention.
You served most faithfully. Gaining the acknowledgement of one of my favorites.
Well, that's high praise. Um, I mean, was it? Did we make a difference? I mean, down there,
What do you think?
I'd like to say so. I know we helped out Saltmarsh, but
Just Saltmarsh.
well, I mean, other people too, I reckon.
I think that there are more grateful souls to you and all of your friends than aren't. And gratitude of that nature gets passed on. Most folks decent folks. Hard to forget a good turn of that magnitude.
That's easy for people to get turned around. You know that. You just gotta
Of course.
set them in the right direction.
Exactly. That is why I would ask that in your well-earned retirement, I may call on you to do a good turn here and there.
Well, yeah. Well, they gonna say no. I mean, I like eating as much as the next person, but if you ain't don't have anyone sitting at the table with you, it's not really worth it. What's the first job?
We shall see. Sometimes something little. Sometimes something more. Only time will tell.
Well, I reckon you and me both know that sometimes little things can do big things.
A fact that many seem to forget. I have learned over the years. But you remind them every now and then. They remember for a while, before they need reminding again.
All right.
Says, one moment. Gets up from her seat. Old lady potters over to the big cauldron over the fire. Reaches a hand out with a bowl that was not there before and ladles a couple spoonfuls in there. And brings it over with a spoon that wasn't there before. Places it in front of you. And to think I almost sent a guest off without feeding them. Sit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll sit down. I'll eat. Have a meal.
Sit and talk turns to nothing. Nothing's of importance. Just talk you have over a meal with a guest and a proprietor and the comforts of home.
I'll comment how I didn't think Eldon was gonna outpace me.
I sometimes think Eldon will outpace me, dear. He's a stubborn old man. But that's why I love him. He's a good one when you get around the edges. Sit and talk with Soroli for who knows how long. Mere moments. Days, hours, centuries, years. For shouldering your pack and hitting the road. Going to find another good spot to sit and cook. Inviting wayward souls, quite literally. Accompany you by the fire. Who knows? Maybe some of them are familiar. Alright. Julian. You remember
Yep.
Those final moments. Tired to the bone. Cuts and bruises. Ultimately, a hammer blow. As you fall to the stone, blackness overtakes your vision, almost like falling asleep. Before returning to the pattern. Harsh, bright light assaults your eyes. Blue and green and white slowly beginning to filter in as you begin to see color once more. As you begin to perceive sound, you hear the slow of waves crashing on the beach. The slight color turns into detail. You're sat in the sand near a pier. Ocean stretching out in front of you. Where you hear a voice to your left. So is this what it's like? Hear a Bari next to you in the sand. And as you turn as you go to speak, unaltered, a voice you haven't heard in years, your own.
This time at least.
Just kind of looking around as you realize that both of you are in plain sailor's garb. Not tattered. Not salted, not crusted with salt. No holes, weapons put in them. It's a bit specific. So you see his eye drawn down to the end of the pier, and you don't know if it was there or not before, if you just didn't notice it, but a familiar silhouette slowly, lazily rising up and down, tied to the dock of the Stormfeather.
Seemed specific last time too. Not
Haven't had it
entirely
last time, so
not how we were hoping things would play out.
yeah. Yeah, you're right, but he's kind of puts a hand kind of on your arm, and he kind of looks at you, kind of seeing your facial expression. Thank you so much for coming for me.
I don't imagine that Julian can talk any better than I can right now, so he'll just take him into a hug.
Returns it.
Of course.
You know they'll be all right.
Yeah.
Abby and Simone, Sure, they'll get into less trouble without us around.
Don't know about that. My friends decided to give little Taro weapons. So, we'll see.
Perhaps he'll keep them on their toes for us.
I imagine they will.
Stands up. Reaches a hand out. Hauls you up to your feet. Well, while we're here, why don't we, kind of nods toward the Stormfeather. Take a look around, see if everything's where it's supposed to be.
Right. Might as well enjoy it. It's less ominous than last time.
Just kind of looks around. Very empty around you guys. Sand and the dunes with plants and things growing around it. Looks almost like the beach near your guys' village, just without any buildings visible, except for the dock. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Just kind of absent-mindedly slip off his shoes and walk barefoot in the sand.
You take off your shoes, you realize no scales, no carapace. Kind of subconscious, kind of reach up and feel your neck. No gills.
Checks for his beard. Is it back?
Starting to grow back, it feels like. A bit of scruff so far. Hair, though. Got it on top. Unibar walk down the dock. Hops down in the Storm Sparrow. Quick check around. Looks almost exactly the way it did last time you took it out. Everything where it's supposed to be, everything in its place. Just kind of looks at you. Shall we take her out?
Looks around for a moment. There's just the beach and the dock, you said?
Beach and the dock.
Suppose we can. Have you forgotten how to sail a little boat?
I imagined it would come back to me in short time. If not by memory, then by you yelling instructions at me. Maybe there's something worth catching out here. Couldn't hurt to check.
Let's take a look. I'll hop down in.
So you remove ties from the dock. Push out. Sailing into the water. Leisurely. Just seems perpetually kind of stuck at kind of that ideal time for fishing. Fish are out and about, not about to go to sleep, not just waking up. And for a time, you just fish, and with the first bite you get, for a brief moment, there's that sense of primal aggression, just right at the back. But as you pull it in and Bari comments on the catch, the sun warms your face, Wind blows through your hair. It fades, leaving just the satisfaction of the calm enjoyment of fishing, without the worry of it being necessary to eat, but enjoyment nonetheless, not the drive of the hunt, but the calm of just fishing with your brother. As you guys just, without even really noticing, just sail farther and farther out. Beach fades into the distance, just slowly meeting that horizon. Passing beyond into whatever comes next. So, our characters have all had their experiences, one way or the other. And so we'll get into slightly less sad, and more of, that is too happy though, I will say. Still too happy. Too happy. We're not quite so sad. That's exactly what I was doing before. I don't know. This is hard. I don't know what to tell you. What about this one? Nope. Give me a second. We'll get there. Everybody, a few minutes to decompress. This'll work. Why not? So, that's what has happened to our heroes as they passed into the next life, or something in between, or having some adventures before they decide to pass on, or who knows. Details are fuzzy. But the world that they leave behind, the world of Greyhawk, specifically the lands of Keeland, mostly including Saltmarsh and Seaton, and the areas nearby. After the events upon the island, after the death of Dr. Felix Brandt, nobody ever got to learn his name until after he died. Take that note. But you felled him. You all felled him nonetheless. Adeline disappearing from the island upon doing whatever it is he was doing. It came about that within the holdings of the Sea Princes, the Keeland Navy had launched a savage attack upon this island. Unprovoked aggression, further backing up people's desire for war, trying to strike a key military outpost, additionally striking some of the more outer, less defended villages and the likes that are within the holdings, slaughtering or capturing everybody on their lands, finally spurring the talks of war among the princes themselves. Despite Prospero Artois and his prince and their allies within the holdings, things fairly certainly landing squarely in aggression of some kind. At the same time, as things are being pushed behind the scenes within the holdings, some things begin to go awry on the mainland. in Keeland, specifically in Saltmarsh, as tragically Anders Solmore assassinated within his estate, presumably by those dastardly princes, but ultimately at the hands of his trusted butler, who alongside Adeline and a familiar bard to Jakob would have been, who had met him the one time, but all of you had met a different time under the guise of a Keelish soldier, all serving the same masters, all members of a secretive group known as the Order of the Scarlet Phoenix. It had plants within the holdings, here within Saltmarsh. Another familiar individual known as Investigator Carnal, high within the Keelish military, hoping to seize powerful positions as well as spur the people towards war even more, unsuccessfully completing another assassination on Manistrad Copperlocks due to the intervention of Darby Goodman. As undead brought in like puppets on puppet strings by this nameless bard from his contacts within the cult of Orcus. Darby fending them off most handily, preventing the complete assertion of their plans, as well as with the assistance of Captain Shepard there within the city, who prevented Investigator Carnal and his men from capturing and executing Darby Goodman as an undead or as a collaborator. No, he'll never get a promotion. Y'all shut the fuck up. Never. But after this aggression, things starting to heat up. A certain PI that all of you had implored to be hired in the case of discovering the innocence of and somehow breaking free Eleander Firebrand. While that was not possible in his search, he did uncover for himself that Firebrand was innocent. And at Firebrand's execution, busted him out, basically, with some background assistance of some like-minded individuals who still served within the city's watch. Disappearing off to God knows where, but strangely, lizard folk, sea elves, beginning to harry forces under the direction of the Scarlet Phoenix. Seemingly not a decided conflict, though a difficult road ahead. Eldon Barrowstone, crotchety as he is, continuing about his business, traveling with Ella Conley as a companion for a while before splitting off as he desired less excitement, but she had her own desires for what she wanted to do, continuing her crusade against the undead and those that raised them. Unfortunately, never coming to the conclusion or being given the exposure to see that her eldest son, Mikhail Conley, still lives, in a way, under the alias of Darby Goodman. But both working towards the same goals for the remains of their days, details of which will remain in the air.
You just blew Cody's fucking mind.
Be nice, I'm vulnerable right now.
But nothing is certain in the trials and tribulations of war and conflict as a whole. Prosper Artois and his prince, Alchemy, the Pale Flower, still determined to fulfill the goal that they have so long pursued, and Prospero, with memory of small purple frog, implored him to make a bit more of a difference as he pursued his goals. Who knows? I don't. But what I do know is that the tribe made a lot of ripples in a lot of places, and with a startling tendency, or alarming rate, those kind of ripples they don't fade, they grow until they become waves that will crash against a rock, and even if it doesn't dissuade it this time, it sets the path for the next wave to wear it down again and again and again, or to wash over and destroy a castle of sand, be it evil sand or inconvenient to its path of travel. But aside from the tales they left, folks who found their way, either purposefully or on accident, teleported into a colorful and terrifying realm. Every now and then, some would come back, telling tales of a pink purple frog in just decadently, like, ridiculous garb, but so recognizable, but always telling tales of how he did right by him, how he seemed always with the wind at his back, on his way to do something else wondrous on the terrifying seas of the Feywild. Believers of Sorololi, growing in number as well as in diversity as pockets of worshippers cropped up in humans and elves and dwarves, and some people swear that they heard a lizard folk preaching of her gospel and kindness and peace and loving thy neighbor. And eventually a Mrs. Arantlet McDoonslebe being woken from a powerful magic that her parents, in their fear of her coming to further harm after she had left her husband, and with their knowledge of the Order of the Scarlet Phoenix and their plans, had placed her under, eventually woke. Left her parents once again, this time for good. They had put her to sleep for years in the hopes of keeping her from what they perceived as harm. Hearing stories of her husband felt Jabba pride in the things he had done while she was asleep. Setting off to travel and see some more of the world on her own. And Simone and Taro and Abby had traveled far inland. It was a long time before they ever heard any kind of confirmation by rumor or hearsay or any of that of the fates of the tribe. But messages had stopped coming, so they knew. They guessed. But they carried on, deciding to live as well as they could, as best they could, raising Taro to be a man that his father and uncle would be proud of. Though he did have a bit of proclivity for a bit of thieving, a bit of a rascal with the bow. But seeming to have a furry shadow that popped up after a while. Nobody's quite sure where it came from, but nothing they seemed to do could drive it off, and it didn't seem like anybody could keep it away. Always coming back, about 24 hours after any kind of accidents occurred. Becoming the fast companion of Taro, and through the rest of his childhood and into his adult life. I think that's where we'll go ahead and bring our story to a close.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Hell yeah.
Good stuff.
A bit of closure in some places, maybe not so much in others. Who knows? A lot happens, a lot goes on, but everybody continues to live. Influences of the tribe to be felt for quite a while, I imagine. So, for the last time, thank you guys so much for joining me. Here to play one last night. And thanks to everybody who came and watched. I know I'm probably going to try to avoid both my mother and Brittany for a while. I'm just going to hide for a bit. It's fine. But I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless, and anybody that has viewed any of this campaign at all, even if you only watched like 5 minutes, you watched 5 minutes of the first episode and have never been back, love you anyway. Thank you. I don't even care. But I hope you guys all have a great, wonderful evening or day, depending on where you are, as I sign myself back into Twitch as is tradition. And I hope that we will be seeing you again when we start playing something else on Mondays, because for the moment, we won't have anything. So you will not see us here at 7 p.m. Eastern next Monday. But we will be back on Mondays, doing something. Who knows? I think our boy Cody has stated he might have something cooking in the noggin. We'll see. We may run some one shots on this day. In the meantime, in between, I'm sure we can cook up some stuff to do. But of course, still on Saturdays, our boy Jonesy, aka Gloob, aka God, is running our Across Eberron campaign at 5 p.m. It's myself and some of these other fellas in it, as well as a bunch of other folks who are also a ton of fun. Things are going down there. We're on a timeline, and we have a werewolf to manage, and there's mummies and undead, and it's shit show. So come see us there.
Before you click out of here,
Yeah.
thank you for the story, Ian. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here to tell it with me.
You wench.
You get away. You got away with one. With one.
What are you gonna do? Kill my character?
I can kill the next one.
Oh.
Try me, bitch. But we're gonna raid these guys over here at Dice Cream Sandwich. Love everybody. Love you guys. Love our viewers. Show some love to these guys, and we'll see you later. Bye.
All right.
Bye.